Um, worry, worry is like a cancer. It consumes you bit by bit, grey hair by grey hair. Worry and stress actually kills more people than cancer and HIV. You know, it breaks up families. It feminizes alpha males. Worry and depression has killed more people than literally any diseases infected in the world. You know, cancer is, if you think about it, cancer is like a dormant cell in your body. Worry and stress is an active frequency in the mind. So, you know, what a man thinks about most of the time, he shall definitely become. And if you focus on worry and the worst case scenario, then, you know, you start to develop other frequencies that can bring stress into your life, or diseases into your life, like cancer and so. So worry is such an important thing to have under control, you know. And when you think about people and their stresses and how people look at stress or look at worry, you know, a man may say to himself, for example, if I can't pay my bills, these are the conversations in someone's mind. If I can't pay my bills, I will get evicted. And then my wife, or if it's a woman, my husband, will leave me. Next, I won't be able to see my children. My children will then hate me. I'm a failure. And these are the kind of conversations people have in their minds when they're focused on certain things that they may class as worry or stress. So, you know, worry does lead to depression, and research has shown that depression then can possibly lead to death. So the science of where your focus goes, your energy shall flow, is something that needs to be practiced from another place. Because when you focus on like failure, then you focus on anxiety, and then when you focus on anxiety, you know, stuff like anger kicks in, and all these different other frequencies, which is electron frequencies, start to kick in. And then it brings so many discomfort, not just into your life, but your family's life as well. So there's many ways of looking at it. And even like when people talk about time is also a key to pain. You know, when you think about time, pain will always follow behind. Time is a anytime you measure time, you know, you have to be somewhere at a certain time. It brings anxiety. I need to achieve something by a certain time. It brings anxiety, and it brings worry, and it brings pain. So you have a whole, what I call cousins, is relationships of words, or these relationships of different frequencies that people kind of like really flirt around. You know, when people talk about time as in, I need to achieve this by this particular time, if you think about what it does, it brings anxiety, it brings a lot of pain, it brings worry into your life. You know, so I would say to combat worry and stress, there's a few things that you would have to do. Well, there's a number of different things you can do, but there are some stuff that I would also suggest, which is to deal with stress is, number one, is to really live in the now. Richly be in your present, be in the now. Living in the now is the only place you can really truly spiritually live and be in tune. If you focus on the past, then you're not in the now, and the past brings frustration or anger or whatever it may be. And if you think about living in the future, think about things in the future, it breeds anxiety as well. So, you know, to be in the present is such an important part of dealing with stress, is to deal with worries, to deal with all these things that may be some form of hindrance in your life, mentally and emotionally, you know. So your mind will happily travel in time from the past to the future, seeking emotional, it's like an emotional response out of you. You know, if you think about certain things in the past, where your mind would just bring you there just to get some form of reaction out of you. You know, it's like I was sitting down with a young kid the other day, and he was discussing about meditation, and he said to me, when he tries to meditate, his mind goes from future to past, from past to future, trying to kind of gain some attention. And this is exactly what the mind will do at that time, is because when you're in a state of meditation, what happens at that time is you are actually saying to the mind, I don't need you at this precise time. I'm just being in the now of self, and it's not a mind thing, it's a self thing. So what the mind does, because it feels excluded from you, it tries to entertain, it tries to bring all these different experiences in so you can break your state of being in the now. So you'll be thinking about, or it will try to introduce thoughts of what needs to be done tomorrow. Is someone trying to call your phone? Do I need to check my phone? What happened yesterday? What could possibly go wrong if I don't pick up my phone? There's so many different things that your mind starts to flood into your mind, into your being at that time, and that's the separation of what your mind can do when you're trying to exclude it from a place of being in the now, being in the presence, and so on and so forth. So to be in the now, it takes time, but it's something that needs to be practiced consciously until you get to a point of unconscious competence of doing it over and over again. Number two, to really defeat worry, I would say, is to always get the facts. If you do not get the facts, you cannot really solve your worries, or well, intelligently, you can't really solve your worries, because a lot of the times something is not that bad, but the more you leave it, the more you don't try to deal with it, it starts to magnify in your world. And sometimes it's just a conversation that can deal with a major issue or worry or so. So when getting the facts, first of all, go out there and get the facts. But when getting the facts, treat it as if you are collecting data for a client, not yourself, because once again, you may look at it from an emotional perspective, emotional point of view. So kind of treat getting the facts when you're dealing with certain situations that is kind of like giving you or collating worry in your world. Get the facts from an angle where you are working for a client, you are working for someone, so you're kind of just really laying it out on the table without sugarcoating it or whatever. You're just looking at it for exactly what it is. It takes the emotions away when you look at it from that perspective, and it takes the focus away of what could possibly go wrong. So it's really a good way to deal with that scenario if you're dealing with worry focused on a situation that you feel like you have no control over. I would say another thing is to always write down precisely what you're worried about. Just write it all down, exactly what it says on the tin. I am worried about this particular thing. And as I said, there's something I always say to people that is magical about writing stuff down, because when you write it down and you look at it external from you, it starts to get smaller. But when it's in your mind, it magnifies itself. It's like there's a magnifying glass in your mind. But when you write it down on paper and you actually look back at that paper, it doesn't seem to be that bad. It seems a lot more achievable as well. And you can kind of put it into perspective. When it's in your mind, it's very hard to put it into perspective. So writing it down is such an important part of dealing with your situations when it comes to worry and so on and so forth. Another thing is to really decide what to do about it. Make a decision. I'm going to decide today, right now, that I'm going to deal with this situation like this or like that, whatever it may be, and act upon it. Act upon it in a way where you're looking at it like, okay, something needs to be solved. And don't look at it from an emotional point of view. Look at it from a place where it's like something needs to be solved, and I have the power to solve it, and it's going to help so many different people if I solve it or when I solve it. So these things are very important. Another thing is to always keep in mind and occupy your mind away from worry and focus on positivity. And some people say that's very easy to say, but it's not as easy to do. And once again, things are as good as you negotiate within yourself, and as good as you negotiate in the world. So you have to have a list of different things that keeps your mind positive. It's not just let me think or let me try to be positive, but it's also about having a structure or system in place to make sure that you don't bring certain entities or frequencies into your mind. You know, so there are certain things you can consciously do. Like, for example, what do you watch on TV? Certain things that you watch on TV will bring that frequency of frustration, hate, anger, pain, all those kind of things into your mind. Who do you allow to call you on the phone? What kind of conversations do you have on the phone? What kind of personality are the people that you're talking to on a daily basis? Do these people talk about things that will bring a frequency of electrons into your world that's going to make you frustrated or make you angry or make you doubtful, whatever? So you have to monitor also what you watch on TV, what kind of people you talk to, and so on and so forth. So you have to be mindful about those kind of things. And I would say these are the starting places to really deal with worry. And as I said, where your focus goes, your energy shall definitely flow.